I'm curious. The I've heard that you are planning on maybe even doing some ranger training for Black Rock Rangers, people who are going to be rangers at Burning Man, but doing the training, or at least maybe early stages of the training here in Burning Life. Is that true? And how would that work?
Well, that certainly is something that I am looking into. There's an incredible potential here to train rangers. One of the challenges that we have faced in the desert at Burning Man is that it's very difficult to train rangers that are in different parts of the planet. And the big advantage here is that you can have a ranger training.
Really badly, I think.
You can have a ranger training where there's role playing, and it could work very well. Actually, Dusty, you presented a training session here. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it is. We're thinking quite possible to train real-life rangers in Second Life pretty thoroughly. And sort of as a test for that, we actually did ranger training here in Second Life for Burning Life. And we took the standard ranger training materials and carved them up a little bit so that they, had more relevance to Second Life. Probably whittled it down about half, because there's about half the stuff we don't need to know since we have no real bodies. But we trained 37 rangers here a couple of weeks ago, and they really seemed to absorb everything I said. It was actually a bit alarming. I hope I didn't say anything wrong, because they just went out and took the training to heart, and they are out rangering every day and solving huge numbers of problems that end up not having to go further up the worry chain. So yeah, ranger training works in Second Life.
Would that mean
An incredible thing that I have noticed too, with just a few days that we've had trained rangers in the Burning Life environment, that they are developing an incredible respect from the community. This is what we see out at Burning Man. The rangers are so respected, and I think we're starting to see that now in the Burning Life world as being a part of the community that helps solve problems and disputes and mediates.
It's funny how much of the, for people that have not hung around a lot in Second Life, or maybe even neither nor Burning Man, it is so interesting how many of our disputes as human beings are kind of over information. They are disputes that concern the way we build the world around us, and then the way those worlds intersect with each other. I bet there are people listening to this thinking, well, wait a minute, now why would you need rangers in Second Life? And of course, Dusty could tell us, but you do, because a lot of the challenges that we have in the real world turn out to be, not really over atoms. They're over bits.
Yes, and human nature does, of course, hold sway here, maybe even more so than it does in the real world. So there's most of the same dynamics going on here. The griefing potential is different. Different types of griefing here than you get at Burning Man, but overall, the Rangers need most of the same skills here.
Right. So would you say that, if the ranger experiment is successful, that would be something that you would implement sort of on a yearly basis? And also, would you imagine that this could work for other Burning Man departments, greeters, artery, and so forth?
I certainly think that's true, and we'll be looking into that after this event, taking lots of notes, and we're really learning a lot from Burning Life, and it's a very valuable experience to be here.
Right. I have a question from the audience that I wanted to ask. Calypso Janice wanted to know, what is the major positive difference between Burning Man and Burning Life?
Positive difference?
That's the question. What is the major positive difference? But you might say a major positive difference.
I think it's easier to move atoms around.
Yes.
Cleanup is certainly a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, you don't have to smell people. But, you know, that's also one of my hallmarks for the presence of community. When you can smell people, then you know you're in a community generally.
I'm trying to think what the equivalent of smelling people is in Second Life. It's certainly there. I mean, it's a very present community, but you're right, Larry. That's the kind of thing you have to look for.
I think it would probably be not smelling them, but listening to them go on in chat.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot more of the human dynamics and communication that is important here in Second Life.
How so?
Because the only way you can communicate is through this image you project. There is a tremendous amount of energy or personality or whatever put into the word, because you don't have all the details of body language. There's so much missing in communication that it's lopsided. It's a different kind of communication that occurs here than in the other world.
And you've probably answered these questions before, but is it just a coincidence that both Burning Man and Second Life came out of San Francisco? Or is there something about San Francisco that led to these types of creations?
Well, I think that California, being on the edge of the ocean there, it's where all the creative, crazy people piled up.
Yes, a lot of people come to San Francisco because they think they can be. They can more readily be what they are there than they can where they are, and there's a long tradition, there's a long bohemian tradition in San Francisco, and that's part of what brought me to the city. And of course it's brought a lot of people who've created such things as Second Life. There's a bit of a frontier mentality. There was in the founding of the city, and it still exists in these parts.
You know, I'd say, Dan, that it was easier to build the company here in terms of the kind of people that we needed to have and the sensibilities that they had. I think that, you know, it was easier to hire people with an engineering background that also really kind of got what we were doing in San Francisco. I think we probably grew faster as a result. I still think that's true. You know, our company today, our largest office, we're about 300 people, but the biggest office is in downtown San Francisco, and I think that's a really unique and wonderful place for it to be, and it fits with the company's culture and Second Life's culture in a way that's pretty good. You know, I was thinking about Second Life before I came up to San Francisco, but being part of San Francisco's culture, I think, really inspired me positively as to how some of these things would likely kind of work out and work well. I also think that, like Larry said, you know, San Francisco has a bohemian history. It's also cool because it's a little tiny finger of land, you know, pointing north, basically, the peninsula, into which a large number of people with very different backgrounds were jammed and have had to sit right next to each other and smell each other, like we were saying earlier, for some time now. And that has created a certain type of culture that is tolerant and open, and I think quite magical. And I think that does, you know, there is some parallels there.
I like the physical analogy. San Francisco is a peninsula, and like the place we're in right now, it's bounded by the blank unknown.
Yep.